Happy Hispanic Heritage Month, everybody. This is the Slider Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Dark Angel Season 1. So Dark Angel came out in 2000. Whew, a long time ago. Boy, that was some good times back then. And it aired on the Fox Network channel. I have been wanting to talk about this show for like the longest time. And I reviewed the pilot episode, go watch that. But I've been wanting to talk about this show ever since I talked about the pilot episode, but just like I said, I had to get my bearings. I had to rewatch it. So I decided to rewatch it now. And you know, they just don't make good shows like this no more, where you have actual set pieces that are dressed to look like a dystopia and everything. Nowadays, like when you watch the show Van Helsing, which you can watch on Tubi, they got the first 3 seasons up on there. The last 2 aren't on there yet. It's also on Netflix. But like, they live in a dystopia where vampires take over the world. And you can tell the faraway backgrounds are CGI. They look CGI and it just looks like computer mush. But here, oh no, it's the real thing. And you know, I truly and honestly believe that Fox wants you to forget about this television show. Why do I say that? Well, after the huge ratings that season 1 brought in, the show was too expensive to make, so they wavered on renewing it for a second season. They did, but they started to slash the budget a little bit here and there, not giving for much episodes, even back in season 1. And season 2 writing was god awful. I don't know what the heck they was thinking, but I saw a bunch of new writers came in. That is why the show feels so different. And so the first season came out on Tuesday nights, but the second season came out on Friday nights. And if you're as old as I am, then you know back in the day before streaming and when you had to watch a show every week on television and the reruns, if it's on Friday night, most likely it's put there to die. And that's because most people, adults, go out to party on the weekend. And so nobody really watches TV except for like little kids and this and that. But most little kids and teenagers, since they can stay up late on Friday night, are pretty much just like, you know, scouring the television for as many different shows as they can watch. And so like, the Friday night death slot is one of the worst things that could ever happen to a television show. Some TV shows can survive, like Smallville did, but it barely survived. And, you know, if that second season just would have been good, we could have got a third. But I'm kind of glad we didn't get a third because the creators lost their freaking minds. They was going to combine the storylines of season 1 and the storylines of season 2 and mush them together and have this stupid prophecy of a cult and this and that. Yeah, season 2 got really stupid with a cult. This is how bad season 2 is. I've only watched season 2 1 time in its entirety. I've watched season 1 3 times in its entirety. And I don't remember much of nothing in season 2. My mind has literally tried to forget season 2. And I'm not even joking. Like, I have literally forgotten I've forgotten so much that I forgot that there was a cult in season 2. I remember the animal people, which I wish to God they never created, but they did. But I don't remember the cult and everything. And I still say Fox wants you to forget about this. Because, okay, first the DVD release. It's had a couple of DVD releases. It's had like a big box set on season 1 that's kind of like a book. Then they had like, you know, I think they did season 2 the same way like that as well. Then they decided, hey, let's do the slim down DVD complete season, right? They didn't add nothing new, but it was a more slimmer thing. Which, by the way, I am pissed off. Why? Because I have had that thing for over 10 years or so. And like, I think when I first started watching it, 2 episodes will not play. It pisses me off. I'm like, no. And one of them's one of my favorite episodes. And so I am screwed. Why am I screwed? Well, it's out of print. That's right. You cannot buy this no more. They don't make it no more. If you're gonna buy it, then that's where the vultures come in on both Amazon and that of eBay. A new disc will cost you 60 something bucks. Both seasons will cost you over 100. If you want a used DVD, well then you can get it for around 20 or 30, but who the heck wants a used DVD? So because it's out of print, we are all screwed. And not to mention, this show has never, ever, and I mean ever, been on streaming. That's right, you can't find it nowhere. You can't find it on a paid streaming site. You can't even find it on a free streaming site. That is bizarre. Some of the older shows that are like literal crap are on streaming. Shows that only lasted for 1 season are on free streaming sites. There are shows that just now popped up on those free streaming sites. I'm all like, holy crap, I watched that on UPN. It lasted for a season. It did not do well. And somehow after over 20, 30 some years, it is now on streaming. If that can be on streaming, so can this. The only place you can watch it for free and very bad quality and somewhat medium quality is either YouTube in its bad quality or Daily Motion in its medium quality. And most people TVs don't get Daily Motion, so you'll have to watch it on like a smart device. Are we not allowed to have good things? Seriously now, and I mean seriously now. So you're probably asking, hey, why are you talking about this show on your like, Hispanic Latino like thing? Well, that's because the lead actress is Mexican. Jessica Alba led this show to perfection. This was her breakout role. She's done other things in the past before. She's done like movies, she's done TV shows. She did some dolphin or whale television show back in the day when she was a teenager. I can't remember what it was. It was either Free Willy or something with a dolphin or something with a whale. It was something, but I've never seen that show. I think it might be on YouTube, but I've never seen it. And so like she did some baseball movie too when she was younger as well. I forget what that was even called. It might have been The Sandlot too, but heck if I know. But this right here was her breakout role at just age 17. That's how old she was when she got cast. And so, of course, this came out in 2000 and they would have to write in 1999 and stuff like that. So she was probably around the age of 18 when the show came out. And this, in my opinion, is her best role ever. I've seen her in some other stuff. I like her in some other stuff. One movie I didn't particularly like her in. No, it's not Fantastic Four. I have a soft spot for the Fantastic Four movies. I like the Fantastic Four movies. And if you don't, I personally don't care. That is my movie. And so she was okay in those movies and stuff. But it's that movie called Eyes, the remake. I just wasn't feeling her in that. But she does good in other projects. And, she's come a long stinking way. She's done, like, other movies, mostly. She mostly primarily does movies. She done a TV show, LA Finest, that lasted for 2 seasons. But now she is a self-made woman, having her own company. I think it's beauty products, I think. I don't know. I don't buy beauty products. But, yeah, I think that's, like, her company and stuff. And is very successful. So she has come a very, very, very long way and everything. And she has not aged. My God, she still looks the same. Sure, her cheeks aren't as puffy as they used to be and everything, but she still looks young. I don't see no wrinkles on her. They say the whole expression, black don't crack. I guess brown don't either. And stuff. Oh boy. But yeah, she led this show, and this show is a predominantly white television show, and she was the only Latina in it. And she carried this thing on her shoulders, man. And much props to her. And you know, that was very rare for like a Hispanic person. Wait, are Mexicans Hispanic or Latino? It's very rare for a Mexican person, because I honestly don't know. It's very rare for a Mexican person to lead their own show when the show has more white people than it does any other race. But not only that, this show is multiracial, man. This show has like one Mexican actress. It has, in the first season, it had 3 black stars in it. And it had about, about 5 white people in it. So it's considered like a white show, you know what I'm saying? And she was just leading it all. Now in the second season, a lot of that changed. In the second season, still she is the lead, and so she's Mexican. Also in the first season, they also had an Asian dude too. But in the second season, it's her Mexican. It's 1 black person now in the second season. Maybe 2. I forgot he shows up again, but he rarely shows up. So now there's 2 instead of 3. The Asian dude still shows up, but he don't get that many episodes. And there's a lot more white folks in the second season. A whole lot more. And, you know, it was like, this show was really ahead of its time, man. It depicted that of like soon-to-be future dystopia set in the year on flashbacks 2009, but in the actual present day of 2019 and 2020. And, you know, their dystopia of a future is basically like this. Some terrorists decide to launch an EMP throughout the middle of America, wiping out a lot of the electricity. A lot of computers went down, businesses panicked and everything, and it set them into the Second Great Depression. And that started in 2009 when the pulse hit. But then the power is back on in 2019, but they're now living in squander. They are now in a Second Great Depression. Things are so bad that you hear people say, wow, I haven't seen that since before the pulse hit. What is that? Wow. Well, one is a melon, yes, a fruit, and the other one is a whole chicken you get from the grocery store. Holy crap. People are running out of toothpaste. People are living on the streets by the hundreds, if not the thousands. There is graffiti everywhere. All the cops are pretty much crooked and everything. They have these drones that fly above the sky to monitor, like, you know, bad activity. There are the sector police. Think of the sector police like ICE. Basically, it's like this. Every city is closed off in America, and you gotta stay your behind in your own city. And if you want to travel to another city, you have to go to the border, and the sector police have to, like, you know, pad you down and all this other stuff, and you have to have special passes. Only the rich and the elite and military are allowed to get these passes. Other people, well, that's when you have to do some little dirty work. It's like they don't even want people in other cities and stuff. It is just that bad. There are still pay phones because most people don't have a cell phone. Cell phones are still flip cell phones from back in the early 2000s and stuff. people are living in squander in like apartment buildings where multiple people have to double up and have to help each other with the rent, all while the police are shaking them down for like extra money, protection money and stuff. This is from the police of all people. Big time corporations are still around, and so are rich people, and they're living good for the most part. But these big corporations are screwing people, especially in pharmaceuticals and stuff. It is horrid in this like future and stuff. And what's crazy is this was going on in 2019. Where were we in 2019? Oh, we was going through a pandemic and everything. And I'm just like, holy crap, man. It's like no matter what, whether it's television or real life, 2019 sucked. In 2019, with the pandemic, brought on more homeless people, more inflation, and people losing their jobs and stuff. Kind of like Dark Angel. So in a way, it almost predicted the future and stuff. And the military are just as corrupt in the show as the police are, because the military, they'll go in guns a-blazing and doesn't even try to think of a strategy and stuff like that. It is just terrible. And did I say no toothpaste? You know, like, people have to like find like old like water heaters just to get hot water. They have to boil their water on the stove. People are dying because the pharmaceuticals are giving them placebos and everything. There is barely any food, and it's just the most like terrible thing ever. Now, this show is also unique for like for trailblazing and stuff. In one episode, there is a transgender person who goes on a date with a man. And the transgender person is actually played by a real transgender person, Jessica Crockett. I think this was Jessica's only role. She has an Instagram, she has a Twitter. What she said, she said she was trailblazing and, doing things when things just weren't allowed back then. Back in those days, if they was to have a transgender person, it would be played by the opposite sex. I saw that one time in Married with Children, where a man had a sex change into a woman was played by a man just wearing a dress, and it was made for laughs. See, this show was woke before woke was even a thing and stuff, because back in those things, people never really heard of transgender and stuff. They've heard of drag queens, but most of the time you also heard of like the term cross-dresser and stuff. But they used to use a different term for transgender people that I will not use and stuff. And so like this show that had her in there, they not only had like an actual real transgender person playing a transgender, but they also explained that, some transgender people will either date their own race, or not race, but date their own gender or another gender and stuff. Because like this character, she goes on a date with a man, right? And then she tells him, you know what, I kind of realized that I'm a lesbian and everything. And it breaks his heart and everything, because he was willing to accept her for who she is. He didn't even judge her. And this is a very angry, grumpy man. And this man is also prejudiced by the second season when it comes to transgenics. Not transgender, but transgenics. Transgenics are super soldiers in this. I didn't get to that part yet. This show's a lot to dissect, all right? And so he was willing to date her and everything. And she wasn't willing to date him because, she wants to date other women. This was the first time I've ever heard of anything like this. And of course, you really would not hear nothing about this ever again until about, 15 years or so. Probably a little bit, probably like 12 or so. I'll say 12. That's when it started to like pop back up, you know what I'm saying? This show also had a lesbian character on this show. That was something else very unique and very different, because you didn't see stuff like that back then. And so the lesbian character, she keeps talking about liking girls and wanting to date girls and this and that, but you never saw her actually date one until towards the end of the first season. There we actually see her ex-girlfriend and they actually kiss because the character never kissed before. And of course the ex-girlfriend got fridged when they killed her off due to that of a virus. But they kept the actual main lesbian character on there. And she was a really, really interesting character. And she lasted all the way to the second season. Because in this show, in the first season, 3 of like the characters completely disappear by the second season. They get written off. One gets written off early in the first, well, no, midway in the first season. The other character, he's written off at the end of the first season, and the other characters like written off very early at the beginning of season 2. The one that was in season that appeared in season 2, he is a main player in the show. The other 2, they could never find anything for them. The one actress lady, she was in one good episode, but the guy, they never wrote nothing for this dude. And I always felt bad for him and stuff. One of the main characters on the show was paraplegic. Not played by a real paraplegic because they actually needed him to walk for like flashback episodes or like the pilot episode and when he regains his legs and stuff. But you know, that was cool. They was willing to do something like that. And they had a lot of good juicy drama with him losing his legs and not being able to cope with it. And I really love how they went hard on that. I mean, they went hard. I'll explain just how hard they went. But yeah, they went hard with that character when he lost the ability to walk. However, there is also a quadriplegic character that appeared in about 5 episodes by a real quadriplegic person. See, Jade C. Bell plays Sebastian. He's kind of like, what was that dude who's really smart in the wheelchair? I can't remember his name. He passed away. No, not Stephen Jobs. I can't think of it right now. But you know the dude. He had that one disease that caused him to be quadriplegic, and he's really smart. So basically, he's like this character. He's super smart. He can only move like one arm, and his wheelchair is able somehow to vibrate through his brain and read his thoughts, and does it like on a speaker and stuff like that. Now, the quadriplegic actor, I never knew about this until I just researched it just now. I feel so bad for this dude. Oh my God. Okay, so I think this is the only thing he's ever appeared in. He was like 23 or 24 at that time, and he took a drug. Now, I'm not going to say the name of the drug. You can just look him up. What is it? Jade C. Bell. And it'll tell you. He took this drug, and it messed him up. He lost the ability to use his arms. He lost the ability to use his legs. He became a mute, and he cannot move his body. And I'm like, holy crap, dude. All of that from just a drug. Oh, he's also blind because of the drug too. Holy crap. I feel so bad for this man, but you know, he's trying to make the best of it. He speaks at like prisons and schools and other events, trying to tell people not to do drugs. He also makes his own music, so good for him, you know. Hawkins, that's it. Hawkins, that's that dude's name I was thinking about in the wheelchair. So this show was created by Charles H. Egley, and it was also created by James Cameron. This was the first time James Cameron ever like dabbled in television. Of course, he made the movie Titanic and that of the Avatar series. Not Avatar: The Last Airbender. But I remember he said he was pissed when he found out this show got canceled. Because, like, first they renewed it for a third season, giving him the green light on, like, I think Friday or Saturday night or something like that. So they partied that night. Then about 2 days later, they tell him, okay, you're not on the new scheduled lineup. Then a day later, they told him, yeah, we're just going to cancel your show. Boy, he said he was pissed, but this is Fox for you. So that's how they are. They done this so many times, so many good shows. They've done that to Sliders. They've done that to Firefly. They did it to Family Guy. They've done it to American Dad and so many other shows. They just don't care. Other shows were lucky enough to find other networks, but Dark Angel was not. And so this show, James said that like there was an anime that gave him inspiration for this, Battle Angel Alita. And so like, it is a show about super soldiers and stuff. See, before the post hit, there is this like, government agency that is kind of off the books, but kind of not. Only the upper level people in the government know about them. And they're called Project Manticore. And Project Manticore is trying to build a super soldier. And so what they do is that they genetically modify these little baby embryos and stuff. Basically, they're test tube babies. They're genetically made and genetically modified. And they're called the X series. And there's about 9 X series altogether. By 2009, there were 5. And so the X5s are escapees. See, once they pump all these like, chemicals and vitamins and other stuff into the mothers, and then, the male implants them and stuff like that, they do the whole test tube thing, and then they create the babies. In the X5 series, it is revealed that some of them have twins. And so, like, these kids are trained at birth to be super soldiers. Because they have so many chemicals in their bodies, they have super strength, super hearing. They can rejuvenate and everything. It takes them a while for their bones and stuff to heal, but it will. They have super durability. They are very smart, good at hearing. And so from like birth, they're trained to be soldiers, and they're trained very hard and very brutal. They're giving their like number designation. They're not allowed to have names, but the kids, they secretly give themselves names, because the kids, even though they're trained to be the most elite of the elite, they're still kids. So they still disobey orders. They like whisper to each other. Or they'll do like sign language and stuff, and so the guards won't like hear them. And they have to do some of the most brutal things. Like they have to like run on a treadmill for like the longest time. They have to hold their breath underwater for over 20 minutes and stuff. And like, they have to like go through the most brutal physicals. They want to see how long it will take their bones and stuff to heal. So the doctors will break their bones. They will take these giant like medical saws, and they'll just start like sawing away at their limbs and stuff, and see how long it takes them to bleed out and all this other crap. And it's the most painful looking thing ever. And I remember when I saw that, I'm just like, what the heck am I looking at? But they traumatized those kids. They totally traumatized them. But they were extremely strong and extremely like, well-behaved soldiers until they had enough. They wanted to escape. And so like there were things like they weren't allowed to have birthdays, they weren't allowed to socialize with anybody. They had to wear their hair in like a buzz cut, to the point where I thought some of the girls were boys. Like I swear, man, like I kept looking at them with their buzz cut, and I'm just like, Are these girl guys? Now, one girl who we get to see older and everything, a little boy actually played her as the younger person. Because you really can't tell and everything. But yeah, like they would train them so well that they could remember anything. Like say like, you know, you hit redial on something, right? They can hear what number it is when they hit the redial and stuff. And if they're ever captured, they are taught to like forget everything they know. Not to mention, like, you know, if they're ever like, you know, around strangers, they must assume the stranger is an enemy and must keep on moving. And not only that, but they are designated by their numbers, and they have a barcode tattooed on the back of their neck, but it is genetically implanted in their DNA. So even if they have it removed, it'll come right on back and everything. It's like the craziest thing, but they're not perfect. They can die. You shoot them like the heart or something like that, or their head, they're gone. Like they're not, like they're superhuman, but they're not immortal. And so like one of them ended up dying when he pulled a gun like on a soldier and he was shot dead. Not to mention, like, you know, they can get their butts kicked. Like they're not that strong. Like they're stronger than a normal human, and they can take down big like soldier type men. But another X series can beat another X series, and then there is the Red series, which I'll get into a little bit later, that has nothing to do with Manticore and stuff. And they also have like a genetic defect. Their brains are not receiving the amount of chemicals they need. So they have to take like these pills or drink goat's milk in order to stop seizures and stuff. Also, some of the older series, they have progeria where they age rapidly and everything. And their body runs hot to where you have to cool it down. Not only that, but the females tend to have like cat DNA, feline DNA. So they get super horny about 2 or 3 times out of a year and want to mate. And everything. But you know, even though they're built to be like robotic soldiers, they don't, like I said before, they don't act robotic. They still have their like personalities that they create their own. They create nicknames. They will fight the Manticore soldiers if one of them pisses them off and everything. But one person they will not fight when they was younger is Lideker. Don Lideker. He is their boss, and they are terrified of that man. They know they're stronger than him. They know they're faster than him. And they know they can snap his neck within seconds, but they don't because of fear. Now, what's interesting is that 12 of them decided to escape one night. And when they was able to escape, the thing that's interesting that they separated. So they haven't seen each other in 10 years. And it's quite interesting to see just how they grew up. Most of them have attitudes and everything, especially like Max and Zach. And one of them became like homicidal and everything because of this little, he became like religious, and like there's this statue they used to worship, the kids did and everything, and play around and stuff. And he took that a little too seriously and just went off the his wagon and stuff. Now, they don't know about their twins. They're kept separate in a different facility. And some of the X7s that are more superior than them, faster, stronger, and have some type of like telepathy and everything, they look like some of the X5 series. The set designs and backgrounds and streets and all that, man, it looks great. You can see some futuristic stuff in some of the cars, some of the guns, but the streets look very well done. They're dressed down to look like a rat-infested, like Roach Motel type thing, you know? There's graffiti, there's trash all on the streets. There are like things that people trying to keep warm at. There are like stands where people are selling and trading stuff. this looks like a third world country and everything, and it's America. Now, it's filmed in Canada, but like, I think it's filmed in Canada or British Columbia something. And so the setting is that of Seattle. They even have that of like the Space Needle thing, and it looks totally messed up in the future. The Statue of Liberty is gone. They packed it up and sent it back over to the country that gave it to us. There is no El Salvador no more and everything. And, you know, I don't know how the rest of the world is. That's the thing, because the other world was not affected by it, just America. But the great thing about the sets, like I said before, is how they're dressed now. It gives you that believability that this is real, and the fact that it's not CGI looks even better. Now, the Space Needle part of that is just CGI and stuff. But I just love when she sits on top of it. The stunt work, and that's why I have a problem. That's why I got the biggest problem. The action could have been better. The action is weird in the first season. When they fight, the choreography is just way off. It just looks bizarre and everything. Now, when they do like their flips and jump up in the air, it looks very different. They did something with the camera speed movement to make it look even different, to show that, hey, these are superhuman and they move at a different like radius and stuff. I'm okay with them jumping around and stuff like that. They can jump pretty high up. It's just the fighting that looks way off. Now, the special effects when she's swinging through the city, because Max tend to swing on like a rope or a cable or something like that. Some of that, I'm pretty sure all of that is done realistic with stunt people and sometimes with that. Jessica, how exactly they did that with her, I don't know. Like, there are some scenes where, like in the second episode, where she's like, there's a rope attached to like a building or a mountain and it goes to the ground, and she gets like a metal thing and she just slides down it. That's a stunt double doing it real. But what about the stuff with Jessica Alba when she's swinging through the city? Is that a green screen? If so, it's really good. Or is she actually attached to a rope a couple of feet in the air, you know, swinging around? I don't know, but it looks so real. And she always looks kind of scared when she's doing it. So either one or two things is going on. It's a green screen with a big fan blowing on her and is irritating her face, or she is high up on the ropes swinging around and everything. Either way, this show looks a million times more real than anything that's came out in the last 10-15 years. Now, the Red series, they are very unique. Once again, this is like a rogue government operation, and there's like this implant that's in the shape of a needle. Once they stick it in the back of your neck, it will uncoil, and it looks kind of like that thing from the first Matrix movie. There's all these barbs and wires that are inside your head connecting to your brain. And it's a one deal thing, and it will burn out and it will kill you. The Reds are recruited by prisoners that are basically on death row. And so they take this into kind of like a Suicide Squad type thing. And they are super, super strong. They are juggernauts. They are the only people who can successfully kill and harm that of an X series. But in X series, you know, they have a hard time fighting them, so they basically have to like flee. It's never explained why the government cooked this up. They only appeared in 2 episodes, so it's kind of like, you know, tossed in the air. It's kind of one of those things they wanted to say, okay, look, humans are strong, but X series are stronger. So we need somebody that's stronger than them. So they create the Red series. It's one of those things that was not fleshed out very well. Now, Max will have to fight off the Red series, and they want her blood. They think that Manticore blood might be able to allow people not to burn out and die. When her friend is in trouble, she puts one in the back of her neck and she whoops the behind out of the rest of the Red series to where her eyes are bleeding. and it causes her to have her seizures to where they have to stick a knife in the back of her neck, take defibrillators and shock her, one in the back of the neck and one on the forehead, to short circuit the implant. Problem is, it's now stuck in the back of her neck, and a couple of episodes later, it triggers her seizures to be a whole lot worse. Now, there are a couple of books that were written after this show, and there was a video game. I don't consider none of that stuff canon. I don't care who wrote it, I just don't consider it canon. If it's not appearing on TV, it's not canon for me. And it goes a little bit deeper about how she met some of her friends and this and that, and you know what her life was like when she was on the run as like a teenager and stuff and a kid. But I would prefer it if they would have write it in the series as opposed to that of the books and stuff like that. And you know, it is a shame that Charles and James didn't expand on this. They could have created a franchise. They really could have. Think about it. They could have had like a Manticore series to see what the X-Files or one of the X series are like when they're out in the field. Because that's one thing you don't really get to see in this show. That's really weird and bizarre. Whenever they're trying to capture Max, it's just Manticore human soldiers. It's never really the X series. They do more covert type stuff and assassination type stuff. And we never really get to see them out in the field except for like one episode where we get to see one out in the field and kind of 1.5 really. But it would have been nice to see them more. They could have done a spinoff with another X series member and shown what their life was like that we never get to see, because the Escape 12, one of them goes back to Manticore, another one dies. And so, like, now there's only 10 left, but what was their life like, you know, when they was younger and growing up? Like, that could have been something we could have, like, seen in the show. Like, what was their life like? You know, you get some flashbacks with Max, but they're very short. But I want to know about the other people. Like, I'm so curious to know what their life was like. And the show could have revolved around that. Or we could get a spinoff with younger Max, seeing how she grew up and stuff. Or a spinoff with them at Manticore when they was younger. Or a spinoff with, say, like how Logan became like eyes only and stuff. There's so many different possibilities they could have went down. But then once this show ended, they're like, all right, we're done. Let's just move on to something completely different. And it was a waste. It was a waste. It was a waste. It was a waste. And so in 2002, it came to an end. And like, you know, the show, the first season, 22 episodes, second season, 21 episodes. And it's just, like I said before, man, it's a waste. We could have had so many good spinoffs. We could have had so many good seasons. But they kept screwing the show up as the show kept going on. Why would you do that? Like, I don't get that. Like, why? The show's working title was Experimental Girl and that of Maximum Girl. I'm so glad they settled on Dark Angel. I guess because of the Battle Angel Alita thing, he put the word angel in there, I'm assuming. And so the music of this show was comprised of that of legendary rapper Chuck D and music producer Gary G. Wiz. And so the music is very unique in the show. And it's like, you know, sometimes it's a combination of like instrumental stuff, a little bit of hip hop, and this one lady like wailing and everything. The intro was sung by that of Public Enemy and that of MC Lyte. You don't really hear Public Enemy that much, but you can hear MC Lyte's voice. The end credits is that woman saying whatever and this woman wailing, and that song is called Bicycle Ride. You can hear both of those on YouTube. Now, sadly, the show does fall on stereotypes. The main cast is just one huge stereotype. Like, you know, the lead actress is Mexican, and she has like really like tough, like, exterior to her. She's mean, she's rude. Also, back in like the olden days, Mexicans, the stereotype, a lie stereotype, was that like they're lazy and stuff, and she's somewhat lazy at her job. She's always like late for work, or like, she can't make her delivery because she's trying to like save the world, or she's mostly just always late to her job, even before she started saving the world. So you got that stereotype going on for her. The black lesbian, she is super ghetto. She hates men. She's always insulting men and stuff like that. You have Sketchy, who's like, this like jinky white boy and everything, all about like skateboarding and mountain bikes and, extreme sports and like dopey in the head. You have Herbal, who is just like a black dude who smokes weed and everything. And turns out he used to be in jail at one point. You have their boss, Normal, who is the typical conservative white man and everything. He's a rude boss. You have Logan, who's like the rich white boy and everything. This show just falls on that of stereotypes. And like, oh, you have Lidecker, who's like the evil white man and everything. Honest to God, if this show were to come out today, you will be hearing it from like the anti-woke mob talking about this show is woke, talking about, oh, there's a lesbian, oh, there's a female lead, oh, there's people of color, oh, they talk down the men and everything, oh, they're evil white men and everything. Like, you'll just be hearing it nonstop from them. Oh, look, they decided to have a transgender person in the episode. Like, they would have a field day with this show. But this show was unique, it was diverse, and it was diverse for the early 2000s, like literally the year 2000 and stuff. Okay, so let's start with some character profiles. Let's start with the X5s. Let's start with Max herself. So, Max, she is played, well, the adult version is played by Jessica Alba. Jessica Alba was 17 years old when she was cast in this role. And so she is X5 452. And the younger version is played by Geneva Locke. Now, Max has a last name, Max Guevara. I'm not sure exactly how she got that name. I know she was with the Foster family at one point in time. Sorry to clear my throat. And I'm not sure if that was their last name or not, but they only give her last name in one episode, but they never truly explain just how exactly she got it. When Max was younger, of course, she was part of Project Manticore. And Geneva Locke played her so well, I'm not sure what happened to Geneva. I think she just like was never really an actress and just never pursued it and stuff like that. But like, we only get to hear her talk really one real time, but the other time we hear her scream. The other time we hear her having to recite stuff and then forget everything she knows. So that's kind of like 1.5. But the major time we ever get to hear her speak is during the episode where we meet Ben, where she's talking to like the other kids. She looks so similar to Jessica Alba, it is uncanny, especially with like the lips and stuff. But like, when she was younger, she seems nice, you know what I'm saying? Nice and caring. She cares about the other X5s and everything. But we learn in one episode that like Lidecker, what he would do is he would recruit people on death row. And he will have the X5s hunt them in the woods. If they survive, then they will get to live their life free. But if not, then the X5s will kill them, and kill them they did. And we see Max and the other soldiers beat that man to death with blood all on their face. This causes Max to never really truly want to like kill people, but she will kill in the field when she's older, at least once when we see her snap a guy's neck. But when the other X5 ended up getting shot by a guard because the X5 grabbed a gun that was going to kill the guards and everything, this caused Max to never want to use a gun. She is the only X5 escapee to never use a gun. She just refuses to. When she left the facility and everything, she was found by a woman on the road. This woman was like in the medical lab and stuff. And she tried to take care of Max because she felt sorry about what Manticore did to them. And she was a part of it. But because Max was trained to get out of enemy territory and everything, she just left and never saw the lady again until she got older. And the lady never saw her again, of course, until Max got older and tracked her down. After that, somehow she ended up in the foster system. And her foster father was very abusive. He used to sexually abuse her foster sister, Eva, and stuff. Not much is known about them other than that. And then at some point in time, when she got older, at the age of 19, she started living in Seattle and she started working for Jam Pony. Jam Pony is a bike messenger courier system. And at some point in time, this young, innocent little girl grew up to be a very cranky, smart mouth person. Max is one of those I don't care, leave me alone, don't bother me type people, and don't care about nobody but just her friends. And she, because she has to like, keep a low profile and everything. Something caused her, through all that upbringing with the foster family and this and that, that caused her to just be like a mean little person. And mean she is. She is seriously a boss. She will snap at you. She will clap back at you. She will smack you upside the head. She doesn't take no crap from you. And she hates it when a man tries to stick it to a woman. Either like physically or like through the business type or financial type and stuff. She has like wavy curly hair, but towards the end of the first season, it starts to become straight. By the entirety of the second season, it's long, straight, and blown out. Not sure why they went with this change. It could have been for a number of reasons. Maybe Jessica just wanted to change her hairstyle up, or maybe it was the network. I mean, the Maury twins from Sister Sister used to have curly, wavy hair, and they said the network wanted them to straighten their hair to look more like the other actresses on the other ABC shows, the white actresses and stuff. Because, of course, they always try to make white people happy and stuff because the hair is too ethnic looking and stuff. But they didn't do that to the Cindy character. But, Max is the main character, so who really knows the reason why? And so, like, for the longest time, Max has been able to keep off the radar of Manticore until she starts to get kind of curious. She wants to know where the other escapees are. She wants to know where her mom is. She wants to know where that nurse lady is and stuff like that. So because of that, she starts to get help from a PI. And this is kind of where she made her biggest mistake. Because she wants her family again, her surrogate family, when he starts to look into this Project Manticore stuff, it triggers them to where they realize, hey, somebody's looking into us. We need to figure out why. And this is what causes Max to come in contact with that of the Manticore people and stuff. This also leads her to come in contact with Logan Kale, because it's not cheap to be a PI and that man wants money. So Max is also a thief. She is a cat burglar and everything. And it's weird to have a protagonist who goes around stealing stuff, like breaking into people's homes, stealing their money, stealing their cars. She has a fencer and everything. She is literally Catwoman, and she has cat DNA in her body. So when she tries to steal from Logan, he realizes she's a little too enhanced to be doing what she does with her body frame and stuff. And he heard a tip about like these genetic modified soldiers and how some escaped back in '09. So they have a bit of a rocky start, but then when he's shot up and almost blown up, she decides to help him. And then he decides, hey, look, you help me save the world, I'll help you look for your family. So they have like this partner relationship and stuff. But, you know, they have, like I said before, a rocky relationship. There are times when she just doesn't want to save the world. There are times when she just wants to get closer to him because she has an attraction to him, but he's all about business. And so it causes a much strain on their relationship, especially when like he wants her to do something, but she ends up falling in mud and getting pissed because all she wanted to do was take a hot like bath and eat some food. But then when she realizes that he ends up getting kidnapped along with him and his friend, that, you know, she needs to get her butt in gear. But then she realizes, because they assume that these people stole, like, I guess, like software technology or something, but instead they was involved in sex trafficking. And she realized, crap, like these young girls almost became like sex slaves and everything because she didn't want to like go out and fight crime or whatever. And, you know, what's interesting is that he helped bring out the best in her because she has a group of friends at Jam Pony. And these are the only people she really interacts with because everybody she knows is at least 10 years older than her. The trio, they're at least anywhere between 8 to 10 years, and Logan is 12. And so, like, you know, and this is also in real life with the stars and everything, because they never really state the ages of the characters. I just assume they're older because they always looked older than her, right? They didn't look like they was 18 years old, like Jessica and stuff. And so, like, her friends, they brought out some good characteristics in her, like, you know, she'll do anything for original Cindy. She will help Sketchy out, even though she gets irritated with Sketchy. And she's really down with Herbal and stuff. But they only brought out a little bit of her humanity. Logan ended up bringing out more, even to the point where he invited her to his cousin's wedding. And she started tearing up and getting emotional, something she would have never done before. And, like, when it comes to that of her surrogate family, she just loves them to death, and she will risk her own life just to save them. Zach is like what she considers her older brother, and he has a crush on her and stuff. Something she never realized until they got older. And he's more the headstrong, hard-headed type, the way he tells her, like, man, look, you can't throw away your life. Manticore will get you. She's like, I don't care. I got to help my family out. And they will literally come to, like, fist fights because he's always trying to look out for her and everybody else. But, you know, she won't listen and stuff. And it's even to the point where he has found the other X5 escapees, and he keeps in contact with them with a contact number, but he won't give it to Max. He said, you know, she's not trustworthy and stuff because she puts her emotions before, like, you know, prioritizing what's more important. What's important to him is staying away from Manticore. What's important to her is finding her family, and she'll risk her own safety just to save them and everything. And so, like, she's an excellent skilled fighter. Like take the whole original Cindy and the Red series. Like, when original Cindy got kidnapped by the Reds, she put that implant in the back of her neck to juice herself up and become more powerful and stuff, knowing it will kill her. But she didn't care. She just wanted to rescue Cindy. This is what Zach is talking about. She will do anything for her friends, even if it means sacrificing her own life. And she will literally, and I mean literally, do anything for Logan. Like, see, when he got shot, they had to keep the fragments in his body of the bullet fragments. They started to migrate in his spine to where they started causing him complications. This one episode don't make no sense because they don't explain how she knew. But her and Zach were in the cabin because Lydecker started to close in on her. So they're going to get her to Canada and everything. And Logan's in the hospital and needs emergency surgery because the bullet fragments are migrating. Somehow, hundreds of miles away, she realizes that and wakes up, almost like a telepathy type thing. And so she goes to him and she gives him a blood transfusion. How she knew he was in trouble, that's never explained because she doesn't have no spidey sense type powers that can like sense something like that. But who knows? That's just like a weird like storyline they came up with. For the most part, she will be cordial with people. But if you're rude to her or whatever, or she doesn't like you, she will be rude to you. She particularly is a little bit nicer to dorky people and stuff. Like when she met like Phil, the guy played by Rainn Wilson. Yes, Rainn Wilson guest starred in this show. And so like she hates Lydecker to death. And I mean, she hates that man to death. But in the episode Prodigy, when she was going to this one doctor for research, because, you know, she has the seizures and stuff, she came into contact with him. Now, she's come into contact with him before, but she's been able to keep her head down or wear like a helmet so he doesn't know who she is. But he literally sat next to her and spoke to her, but he had no idea who she was. And she was frightened, but at that same time, she realized maybe she could just end it here and now and snap his neck until the terrorists come in and she has to literally save that man's life. After a while, she ended up kidnapping Lydecker and stuff because I forget why. It was somebody, I think it was Bren that got like captured or something like that. And yeah, I think it was Bren. And so like, yeah, it was. Cause Bren, her core started to shut down and she had progeria that aged up her age like really fast. So anyway, she kidnapped Lydecker and everything, and Zach was pissed. Like, what the heck are you doing? You ain't thinking this through. And she's like, no, but like, we have to think of something. And so this is when he realized by the sound of her voice and the way she looks, like it was that woman at that conference and stuff. Because of that, he starts pursuing her even more. Literally because of Max, all the X5 escapees start to get hunted down one by one because she keeps coming into contact with them. They have literally evaded Manticore for 10 years, and all within a year, a couple of months, they all start to get found out, all because of her. And of course, she knows that, you know, she's ruining these people's lives, but for her, it's all about family. Even though Max is street smart and very intelligent, there's just certain little things she just doesn't really quite grasp. Like, what's the importance of like a birthday, you know? When she gets arrested for trying to steal drugs because of her neural condition and everything, when she's locked up, the warden has like this girl there that he abuses. Max, remembering what happened to Eva and stuff, rescues the girl. Now, Max ends up getting captured in the finale episode. Well, season 1. Well, the episode before that. Before that episode, in the episode Meow, she is in heat. Remember I said about like 2 or 3 times out of a year, the female X5s get like really horny and stuff. Well, anyway, Zach has found out where Tinga is. Tinga got captured when Max tried to rescue her son and her husband. And so, like, the mission goes wrong and Max ends up getting captured because instead of getting out, she tries to rescue Tinga when she sees her in a tube full of water. Tinga is now dead, and when Max is taken away, she is taken away by Lydecker, but he doesn't want Manticore to have her. When she escapes and goes back to the group and everything, they decide they're gonna blow up Manticore once and for all, because once the 12 escapees escaped 10 years ago, they was about to shut the whole program down. So Lydecker tells them if they blow the whole building up, most likely, they will pretend like this facility never existed and they'll never be hunted down again. So with the plan and with the help of Zach, Logan, and two other X5s that just appeared at the end of the series, whose names escape me, but one is played by Jessica Alba's brother, Joshua Alba. And what's interesting about, I think his name, no, Joseph Alba, I believe his name is. And they look kind of similar. Anyway, so like, they blow up the DNA lab. The DNA lab is how they replicate more of the X series, and sometimes they clone some of the other X's and stuff, like Max's DNA and the rest of the X5s are there. And unbeknownst to Max, she has a twin sister. Some of the X5s have twins, genetic twins that was in the test tube with them. And there is an X7 series and who are identical to the X5s. And so when Max blows up the facility and everything and she tries to escape, she tries to get Bryn because she will never leave a person behind. But Bryn has been captured months ago and has been reintroduced into Manticore and brainwashed. She knows this, but still tries to save her. It doesn't work, and when she tries to make her escape, she ends up seeing somebody that looks identical to her when she was younger. This is the X7, and of course, it's played by Geneva Locke. And so, the young Max. Well, actually, she's probably not even young Max. I say the X7 ends up shooting her. And she dodges out the way and they fight. It was so cool to see two versions of Max fight each other. It's like, holy crap, where is this going? You know what I'm saying? But she ends up whooping her behind and then they all get away. When Max and the rest of the people are at the bar hanging out with her friends, everything seemed okay until she started talking to Zach. When she started talking to Zach, I noticed something was odd going on. He was smiling. Zach rarely smiles because he's such a grumpy person, and he was getting along with Herbal. And so Zach doesn't get along with nobody. Then she told the bartender to give some water to her friend, and that was Lydecker. And I'm like, and he's just sitting there reading a book and all nonchalant. Then she ends up and she makes love to Logan back at his place. And I'm just like, well, hold up, something ain't feeling right about this. Zach is smiling, she's calling Lydecker a friend. Now her and Logan finally hooking up makes sense because those two have liked each other for the longest time and they've never done anything. But then she starts bleeding and she sees like this, like a raven or like a crow. I'm like, oh crap, she's dreaming. What happened? Well, the X7, when she shot Max, it actually hit her. Max never dodged out the way. And that was a good misdirect. I love that. And so Max just goes down for the count. Logan tries to save her, but is unable to because she died in his arms right before she told him she loved him. She never even got a chance. Lydecker had to get Logan out because Logan wasn't going to leave Max's body there, and Logan is half crippled. And so, like, then the most, like, dramatic thing happened. They run some tests on Max, she's dead, and so, like, the lead lady who's in charge now, she's going to prep Max's organs for harvest. Zach flips out and is all like, you ain't gonna do that. And he pulls up, he breaks out of his restraints, right? And Zach has already been shot by his younger version and stuff, his younger clone. But he was shot in the shoulder. And so he pulls a gun on like, God, what's her name? Elizabeth Renfro. And she's the new like director in charge of Manticore once Lydecker got kicked out. And so he's threatening to like, shoot everybody up if they don't save Max and get her like a donor heart. But the problem is there are no more donor hearts. So he's about to shoot Elizabeth, but she's all like, look, Max is an X5. She needs an X5 heart. Zach does the most intense thing ever. I did not see this coming. He tells Max that he has a heart for her and shoots himself in the head and collapses on top of her body. Moments later, she wakes up to that of Elizabeth over her, and Elizabeth is telling her, you know, we're taking you home to Manticore, and Max all like, I'll never be a soldier again. Then she does the creepiest thing to Max. She makes Max listen to a heartbeat, Max's new heartbeat, and lets her know that he gave his life for you because he loved you. And listen to that strong heartbeat. And you will now know that you carry a piece of him inside of you, and you're both coming home to me. It is chilling, it is creepy, and it is a finale like I've never seen one before, where the good guys end up losing. One of the good guys end up sacrificing himself for love, and now part of his heart is inside of Max. And it just goes to like a zoom into her eyes, and we see a zoom out of Logan's eyes, and he literally repeats the same monologue that Max did in the pilot episode when we first see her on top of the Space Needle. I could not believe this, man. And honestly, because of the way the second season turned out, it should have just stopped right then and there. I would have been, one, pissed at that time, but older as I am now, I would have been okay with that finale, knowing that Max and the other X5s did what they could. But unfortunately, they ended up back home at Manticore. It's a sad, tragic loss and everything, but it's a whole lot better than what season 2 was. But then when we get into season 2, a little bit of a spoiler here, Max, now all healthy and everything, and it's been a couple of months into the new year, her hair is longer and everything, and she's back to training as a soldier, and she doesn't like being there. They torture her, and there's a box device and everything, and eventually she's gonna try to break her way out and everything. Eventually, she ends up, like, also because she blew up the DNA lab, now Manticore wants their X series to start mating, something they was never technically allowed to do because their bodies weren't designed for that, but somehow now they are. And these are like the newer X series, and she meets Alex, and I'll get into Alex a little bit later. But anyways, when she heads back to, like, you know, Logan's place, she ends up kissing him, and there's a virus inside her now, to where when she kissed Logan, he collapsed, so they can't be together no more physically and everything. It's kind of like that whole Clark and Lana thing from Smallville. And so, like, you know, she helped take down this new facility in Manticore, and she ended up killing Elizabeth. We find out that she actually has a twin sister, X5453, and Max never knew about her twin sister, but like the twin sister knew of her, because once the X512 got escaped and everything, they was labeled as traitors to the rest of the X series, and they had it harder. And so, like, because of all this now, she's been undercover for like the longest time, so she was never at the facility when it blew up. And she's married and has a stepkid. So the new Manticore operatives and stuff, they use her to get Max out. This version uses guns and everything. I forget her name though, but she has a bigger attitude than that of Max. What they should have did was have her have a nicer attitude, because it would have been different from that of Max, other than her using guns and her smoking. But I truly believe this was Jessica Alba's best role, man. Like, it just fit her so well, and she was so young. Like, she was cast at 17, so she probably didn't start filming until around 18, 19. And, you know, it's crazy. Like, I've seen her in other stuff, and she's good in other stuff, but I've never heard her talk about this show. It's actually rare from anybody from this show to actually talk about it. Some have actually started to now. And like, because apparently they had like toys and everything, man, from this show that came out just a couple of years back on Entertainment Earth. And they had Funko Pops and stuff. I didn't know that, man. I would have got myself one because I think that the toys look just like them. Like, that's what's so crazy and stuff. And so, like, um, whatchamacallit? So, like, you don't hear much from her talking about this show, even though she does, like, a whole bunch of other stuff, right? Until just recently, a few days or weeks ago, because something was going on with James Cameron, one of the creators of the show. I think he was being awarded something, or something happened with him. And like, she decided to post a picture of him and her together and talk about, like, you know, how he gave her the opportunity of like a lifetime for having this show and stuff like that. Because it is odd that nobody ever talks about this show, but it's cool she finally did, man. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, there was also like another thing that came out about her when it came to this show. Jensen Ackles, he was in the first and second season. He was in the second season more, but I guess in the first. And he plays Ben slash Alex and stuff. And he revealed Jessica Alba was not nice to him at all on set, and he actually never had a good time filming this show because of her attitude. So now this kind of explains why she was so good at playing Max. But he said one of the reasons why she was probably so rude to him because she had a lot going on in her life at that time. A little bit into that later. And he also said it's because, you know, she kind of saw it as, oh, here's this pretty boy coming into the show, you know, because like I said, he only had a guest appearance in the first, but he was a series regular in the second. And by the second season, a couple of people from the first season were no longer there. Lydecker was no longer there. Elizabeth wasn't there. Kendra, Herbal. And so here comes this new guy and this and that. And she just kind of felt like, oh, you know, like, here's this new guy and this close-knit, like, family and everything, and here's this outsider coming into, like, the show. But some people do feel like that when it comes to TV shows. That's why a lot of stars all, like, you know, they feel nervous joining the cast because they're so tight-knit and everything. But he said she was going through a lot around that time. She really was. It was also revealed, I remember years ago, it was revealed that her and disgraced actor Michael Weatherly, who played Logan, were dating and were engaged back then. But they have since broken up and married to other people. And she stated that, like, you know, what the heck was she thinking back then? Because I think he proposed to her when she was like in her early 20s, like 20, 21, 22, something like that. And she said yes. And she talked about how, like, you know, there's a 12-year age gap between those two. Like, what the heck was she thinking? And more importantly, what the heck was he thinking? Because he should have known better. Yeah, he really should have. Because he was like, what, in his 30s? And she was in like her late teens, 18, 19, 20, while she, no, 18 and 19 when she was on the show. When I guess they had an attraction. When exactly they started dating, I'm not sure. But I know they got engaged when she was in her early 20s and stuff. But she needs to take some of that blame too, because, you know, she might have been like 18, 19, 20, but she knew he was older and stuff like that. And they dated and whatnot. And she admitted she was a virgin at that time. And, you know, what was she thinking? And her parents were pissed because they're very religious and stuff. And it makes me wonder what kind of man Michael was back then, because there's a reason why I called him disgraced. A couple of years back, in about 2017 or so, he got canceled and Me Too'd. And I'll get into that a little bit later when I get into his character, because he's been canceled since 2017-18. But CBS of all networks have decided, hey, you've worked on us for 2 different shows. We're going to help you out. So he's about to have a spinoff of an NCIS show from when he used to play years ago on Paramount Plus. And when you know who the head of CBS is and his Me Too story, then that makes sense as to why he would help out a fellow Me Too cancel person. These scumbags all like stick together. These two are other X-Files that escaped at the same time as Max and Zach. I forget their names, but one of them played by Jessica Alba's brother. They appear in the finale of season 1 and never show up again. We don't know nothing about them and what they've been up to, but for the most part, they are the only two X-Files that are actually nice. Everybody else is either mean, rude, or have a chip on their shoulder. Tinga is a little bit nice, but she has a little bit of a chip on her shoulder. And as for Bryn, we don't know what she was like during the time she escaped, but when she got reprogrammed, she was vicious. Zach, X5599, and he is played by William Gregory Lee. And I remember this guy first as Virgil from the Xena show. He was in the last 2 seasons of Xena, where he played the son of Joxer. And when he first played the son, he was, you know, a pretty gallant type guy. Like, you know, he was strong, he could fight, he was brave. But then afterwards, in the next season, they started to make him a little bit of the comedic relief. Not that much as Joxer, but at the point to where he's scared of Xena and she'll pick on him and stuff. And he also had like a crush on Gabrielle, and she kind of had a crush on him, which was disturbing because Joxer had a crush on Gabrielle. And plus, Gabrielle is a whole lot older than Virgil because they was frozen in time. They are literally the same age as Joxer during that time where he's a really, really, really old man. And so it was kind of cool to see him play Zach, because Zach is completely different from Virgil. Zach is mean, he is grumpy, and he does not take no crap. He is all about survival, and he will kill whoever he has to just to make that happen, and especially if they try to rat out one of the other X-Fives and stuff. He is considered the big brother, the leader of the X-Fives. They all listen to him except for Max. And he has a huge crush on Max. And so when he first shows up in Max's town, she has no idea who he is. And he's pretending to be like, you know, a person who gets a job at her place. And he tries to talk and interact with her, being as nice as possible. But Max is being her typical butthead self and don't really like him and stuff. That, and he took Herbal's job, because Herbal got fired for smoking Herbal. And so, like, you know, eventually she finds out who he is and everything. And he tells her, plain and simple, you need to leave. We can head to Canada right here and now. But she won't leave, talking about she got business to take care in Seattle. She doesn't want to leave Logan. He realizes that. He does not like Logan whatsoever. And so when Breen needs help, you know, he's there to help rescue her along with Max. But the problem is she has progeria and her body is heating up way too hot and she looks like she's 100 years old. And so in order to save her, she has to go back to Manticore so the doctors can save her and stuff. Zach does not want this to happen. Zach has literally said he would rather die than to go back to Manticore. And the next time they meet, because he appears a lot in the first season, mostly whenever another X5 shows up and stuff. But he's there to help save Max when she gets cornered into the city. He tries to get her to Canada. She won't leave Logan. And so Max is literally being framed for the murder of the PI person who she used to help find the other X5. But it was Zach who killed him because he had ratted her out, kind of. And so he turned himself in. And when they put him on a plane back to Manticore, it like crash landed. And we didn't know what happened to Zach after that, because it crash landed, but they couldn't find a body. I assumed he escaped. And Max is all like, he said he'd rather die than go back. But then we find out what happened. Manticore came in, swooped in real fast, and got his body. And he was there for reprogramming. He was there for months and they tortured the crap out of him. Even to the point where they had like a person look like Max pretend to be her to get him out, and only for him to kill her, but he realized it wasn't her. Then a doctor pretended to help him escape, but the doctor was still working for Manticore. After that, he had no person he could trust except for that of Max. She saves him, but we realize something. Lydecker and Manticore broke this man. And I mean, they broke this man that way he just bust out into tears because his worst nightmare has literally come true. He got captured. He went back to a place that is his prison. And unbeknownst to him, with all the drugs they pumped into him and everything, he didn't know there was like a receiver inside his head or whatever, and they could listen to everything. And they found the location of all the other X5 escapees because he knows their location. It was really hard to see a man this tough be broken and just like ball up in tears and stuff. Anyways, they get the X5 to safety because of eyes only. And so after that, he goes his own separate way again, but he tells Max plain and simple, I'm not giving you my contact number because of the simple fact he doesn't trust her like he trusts everybody else. And so he shows up once again to help save Tinga. And then he shows up again to help save Tinga's baby. And of course, he helps, he shows up again to help save Max in the finale. And, you know, like I told you before, he's always about, hey, look, he even tells Tinga, look, you love your son and husband, but forget them and go your separate way because they'll slow you down and you'll end up getting captured and everything. Like, he is literally that cruel and everything. Like, he's a cruel type person to where he doesn't care. He just wants to keep his people safe. And I already told you of the huge sacrifice he made. That was huge. And that dude played that role up well. And so he died, or so we thought. Here comes the spoiler for season 2. In the first episode, we see him hooked up to all these tanks and everything else. Somehow, Manticore has kept him alive with all this machinery, even though he does not have a heart. Then, for some reason, the show decided to go very sci-fi and make him a half cyborg. Why? I don't know. I'm not really sure what happens after that because I don't remember much of season 2. I think they have him be like an assassin, but then Max ends up rescuing him somehow and everything. Letting him live and then having him show up in the next season ruined his sacrifice. That man went out as a hero and everything, and they had to go in the next season and make him in some cheap looking cyborg looking person. Bryn, she's played by Nicole Benderback, and I've seen her in Bring It On, Clueless, Cruel Summer, and a couple other stuff. And so she shows up in Cold Comfort, where her body is overheating for some bizarre reason, and she has to keep cool. One way for these X5 series to stay cool down their core temperature is to be like in a frozen place or like bags of ice and stuff like that. So she calls Zach and he ends up getting Max to help him. And so they think Lydecker has her, but it turns out another military man has her and he's going to sell her on the black market. This causes Max to kidnap Lydecker, and her and Zach end up saving Breen, but Lydecker double crosses them. And so it turns out she has progeria. This makes people age rapidly and everything. I believe this is a real disease because I heard this once in Star Trek, and it would just be too uncanny for two sci-fi series to bring up this disease and everything. And so, like, we don't know much about her in this episode because she's barely in it and she's basically incapacitated the entire time. When Max frees them, she tells Max she doesn't want to die, so they give her back to Manticore. When she shows back up, She's younger again, and she's all healthy, and she's been reprogrammed, and she is mean. She's sent on a couple of missions, overseeing certain, like, operations and stuff. Mostly, to like recover former X5s and stuff. And when she goes in to take, like, Tinga's son, her and Max end up getting into a fight, but she has a soft spot. She tells Max, because you saved my life, I'm gonna let you go, which is something not part of her training. So part of her humanity is still there. But in the finale, no, before the finale, in that same episode, she kidnaps Tinga and does not give her to Lydecker. Instead, she gives her to Elizabeth. Why has she double-crossed Lydecker is never explained. But Elizabeth is lying to her. All Bryn wants is for her family to come back home. But then Elizabeth ends up killing Tinga. And so, next thing you know, in the finale, she has to stop Max from blowing up, like, the DNA lab. Her and Max fight, and Max is still trying to get her to come with her. And Bryn tells her, like, you're a traitor, and, your home is here, and that's us back there you're trying to blow up. And Max basically tells her no, like, it's us out there to come with us, but she refuses to. Next thing you know, like, Max and all them blow up the building while she's handcuffed there. Not Max, but like Bryn. We don't know what happens to Bryn after this. We don't know if, like, she survived or died or whatever. Now, I know there is a scene where Elizabeth tells her about what happened to Tinga. So I don't know if that reveals she's alive or not. But I know in the second season, she does not show up no more. Ben, X5493, and Alex X5 or X94, something like that. They're twins. And so Ben, they're both played by Jensen Ackles. And Ben showed up in season 1. And so, like, in season 1, Ben is cuckoo in the head. He tells the other kids when they're younger about the anomalies. The anomalies are the X2 series. We only get to see one X2. They live underground in cages and stuff. And something's wrong with them to where they're not allowed to be with the other the X series. They're literally, like, deformed or crazy in the head or something. And so, like, he has the other kids be afraid of them by coming up with, like, ghost stories and stuff. Then, when something happens, I forget what exactly it is. One of the kids have, like, a seizure, and the other kids are worried that that child's going to be an anomaly because they are deformed, with a deformity. So this janitor man gives a kid, like, a card. On there is, I think they call it, like, the Blue Lady. I think it's like Mother Teresa or the Virgin Mary or something like that. And I think it's the Virgin Mary. And so, like, he takes that card and is all like, oh, we must worship her. She's going to save us and protect us. So the kids kind of come up with their own little religion, ritual and stuff like that. And their own little sacrifices and crap like that, But he takes it a little too far. And so when he gets older and he's one of the escapees, he starts murdering people in a certain kind of way. And he removes their teeth so that nobody would know who they are. And then he puts a tattoo on the back of their neck of his barcode. This alerts Manticore and it alerts Max. And she realizes who it could be. And Logan is very confused because she's not really telling him much. And so it turns out this is the episode when they used to hunt down prisoners in the woods and kill them and stuff. And Max literally tells Ben that, the reason why you put your barcode on them and kill them is because you're killing yourself over and over because you can't live with yourself because of what you're doing. This is like the closest they have to, like, a serial killer. And so when they fight and everything, and I think Max ends up breaking his legs, in comes Manticore. And he tells Max he doesn't want to go back because they'll put him down in the basement and be an anomaly. So she snaps his neck. In the next season, Alex shows up. And Alex, like I said before, is the twin. And he's forced to mate with Max, but she won't let him. Eventually, he ends up escaping, and his mission is to kill Logan. But then at some point, he becomes an ally of Max and starts working with her at Jam Pony, and he becomes a friend and an ally after that. She's in a tank with all this green water and all these tubes coming in and out of her body, and it is very disturbing. We see her in the next episode, and she's getting worse with green veins on her body. Max tries to save her along with Zach, but like Max ends up breaking the test tube, but Tinga is already dead. I'm just like, holy crap, dude, this sucks. Like the woman spent like 10 years alone, you know, escaping Manticore only to be recaptured because of Max and everything. And not only that, but now her husband is a widow, and or a widower, whatever one you call the guy, and her son is gonna grow up with no mother. I could not believe that. Now, of course, her DNA is still at Manticore, but that got blown up. And there's no sign that she has a twin. Jace is X5798, and she's played by Shireen Clutchfield. And she was never an escapee. She was about to escape, but she got scared and stayed back. And so when she did, they had it rough, and they basically was told that the 12 escapees are traitors and stuff. And so she was on a mission to kill this former doctor who worked at Manticore. Basically, when these doctors just couldn't take it no more and they wanted to leave, Manticore let them go. But because they knew too much, eventually they all started to die one by one. This doctor realized that and went down to Mexico. And she later came back to like America. And so Lidecker sent Jace to go get her and stuff and kill her. Because of this, the doctor was trying to treat Logan for his disability, and Max had to go and save the doctor because of, Jace trying to kill her. But Max didn't want to because the doctor is a former doctor at Manticore. Anyways, at some point, Jace just collapses. Turns out she's pregnant. And so her and Max have like an exchange, and turns out that she got pregnant because she hooked up with like one of the guards at Manticore. And so Max tries to convince her, hey, look, man, just be one of us. You don't need to be a soldier, and Lidecker is never going to let you keep your baby. She doesn't want to believe that because she's such a, a soldier. But then she realizes Max is making sense and decides that she's going to escape along with Max. Lidecker comes in and screws all that up. And he literally tells her, like, you're not going to object for me taking your baby, are you? And she's like, no. But she's just double-crossing him. When Max comes to rescue her, she warns Max, and they both escape. After this, she is sent to Canada to start a new life, and she told Max whether her child's a boy or girl, she's going to name the kid Max. And we never see her again after that. Don Lidecker is the former director of Manticore, and he is played by John Savage. This man can act. He played the Star Trek captain in Star Trek Voyager. And my God, he is such a good actor. Like, this man is one of the best villains I have ever seen. He's up there with Lex Luthor and stuff. He is cold-hearted, mean, and he will do anything to get the 12 escapees back. He will kill anybody. He will double-cross anybody. He's cold and calculated, and he is very precise. And he is angry when this one dude, what was his name? Vogelsang, ended up being the PI. He ripped that man's fingernails off because he was helping Max uncover the Lost 12 and everything. And he is a vicious man and just outright scary. And the 12 escapees, the reason why they never killed him when they was younger, because they was terrified of this man. He is one of the best villains, like I said, I've ever seen. And so, like, you assume he's the head of the head at Manticore, but it's not. He has a superior. And I'll get into that a little bit later, but he's also a former alcoholic. And he goes to AA meetings wherever he goes. His AA meeting speech was crazy. Basically, he tells these people that he doesn't look up to a higher power. He doesn't want a sponsor. You can defeat this disease on your own. He says the reason why he goes to these AA meetings is to remind himself that he's not weak-minded like all of you. Holy crap. Holy crap. And so his ex-wife is like dead, and they show a picture of her, and she's a black woman. And it turns out he was actually married to that actress in real life. She's South African, and they was married for many years when he moved to South Africa, but then they divorced and everything. And so, like, he has a fondness for the escapees. He's always calling them his kids. And he tells them how disappointed he is in them whenever he finds them as adults. It turns out he really does actually love them. This is when they start to ruin his character. Somewhere towards the end of the season 1, they started to make him soft. And this pissed me off. First, it's revealed he has a superior, that of Elizabeth. And it's weird seeing this man who's cruel and nasty all of a sudden keeps his head down when he's talking to her, and she's one-upping him every chance of the way. She even tries to get him killed, but he's too smart for that. And so, like, they just started making him softer and softer and softer, because every time she would end up kidnapping one of the kids and everything, he would be like all upset and blah, blah, blah. And then when he rescued Max, he had her in a motel with him, and he decided to drink for the first time in years. And then he started moping, talking about how, like, he had favoritism towards her when she was younger. When she was in the ICU, he waited by her side and everything, and he should have never done that when she was younger, because it shows favoritism. And then he's all like, I'm not gonna let Manticore get you and me. I'm gonna like kill you, and then I'm gonna be next in line and everything. But Max was able to kick the gun out of his hand. And then it's revealed that when his ex-wife died, he put a little bit of her DNA into Max, and they have the same eyes. I'm like, how much more softer can you make this man? Then he helps Max, Zach, and those other two X5 series along with Logan to take down Manticore. And when he had the detonator to blow up the DNA lab, he didn't want to, because he didn't want to destroy what he has built. Oh my God, they kept making this man softer and softer and softer to, of course, yes, they redeemed his character. I hate when they do that, and it was too soon. Now, he appears in the second season premiere only to, like, you know, help like Max again and stuff like that, and then he disappears for the rest of the series. Now, he had this one ally that whenever this man needed one of his kids to take care of business, he would send his kids into the field and stuff. When he needed to get inside Manticore, he needed this guy's retinal scanner. So he cut this dude's eye out and everything, and then killed him in the second season premiere. Elizabeth Renfro. She is played by Nana Visitor, and she is best known for playing Major Kira in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. So I was very shocked and surprised to see her in this series, and with blonde hair. And so I remember Jessica Alba said in the commentary she was in such awe when she got to meet this woman, because she was such a fan. And oh, also she just now wrote a book about all the Star Trek female characters and stuff. So, like, she's the new director of Manticore, and she's very similar to that of Lydecker. She's mean, she's nasty, but she wants the X5s that, like, have escaped. But she's not too fond of some of them, because she's even said that Lydecker had to put down an entire X series because they were, something was wrong with their genetic code and stuff. And so she's in the habit of one-upping Lydecker at every chance she gets, and kidnapping all the escapees so that he can get his hands on them. And like I said before, she ended up killing Tinga by hooking her up to all them tubes and, like, you know, that and all this other crap. What exactly she was pumping into her body or trying to extract, nobody knows exactly. And so she even tries to kill Lydecker and stuff. But, like, pretty much in season 2, she's written out very early in the first episode when she dies. And I'm just like, that was such a waste of a character. Like, you got rid of Lideker, now you got rid of his replacement. Who is actually gonna get now? And the new guy is some young guy, and he was annoying and everything. And I was just like, dude, that bummed me out so much when they got rid of her character. Because you never really truly understood why exactly she kept doing what she did, because her character wasn't really that fleshed out very well. She was just a person who was power hungry and stuff. Logan Kell, aka Eyes Only, played by scumbag actor Michael Weatherly. And so Michael Weatherly, the thing about him that made him a scumbag is he got Me Too, like I told you, around 2017. The actress who played Faith in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Eliza Dushku, he kept making all these advances towards her when they was on the show Bull. And so, like, he would touch her on the knee, and he would say some of the most inappropriate stuff like, while he was married too, talking about like, do you want to go out to my blank van? Blank, a word that starts with an R, and basically revolves around sexual assault. So basically his blank and van, that's what he named it. Whether or not he does that in the van, who knows? That's the name of it and stuff. And it was once he basically just constantly kept sexually harassing her and everything. Well, he was found guilty of that, and she was paid a settlement. He was still allowed to keep his show afterwards, but eventually it got canceled. Then he got canceled, and he hasn't starred in anything since 2018. But just like I said, now he's gonna reprise his role on NCIS with this other actress on Paramount Plus, because of course CBS, what's Julie Chen's husband name? Lynn Nuves, or whatever that man's name is. He got Me Too'd as well, got demoted, still got to keep his job, and had to pay a settlement. These scumbags just stick, like they just like, they look out for one another. Can't stand it. Anyway, so he is a rich guy. He's young, but he's like in his early 30s, and he is a cyber journalist. Basically, he hates how corrupt the world became after the Pulse and created Eyes Only. Eyes Only likes to expose corporations that try to like ruin the lives of like poor people and stuff. And also like, other corrupt people like police officers and companies, pharmaceuticals, anything, like you name it, right? And he hacks into everybody's television feed with this whole Eyes Only thing. As you can see, this is the inspiration of my channel. The reason why the templates look the way they do. And so I told you in the pilot, he met Max and then he got shot and became paraplegic. Him and Max have a working partnership where she saves the world and he uses his money and resources to try to help her out and save the world. He reminds me so much of Batman, especially Batman Bruce Wayne when he was stuck in a wheelchair when Bane broke his back. He just has that quality to him. And he's a really good actor. It just sucks that he sucks in real life. And so like, him and Max have a bit of a rocky relationship. Even when they start to try to date with one another, he wants to save the world and she wants to go on a date with him. And so they butt heads because of that. But one of the most dramatic things ever is seeing him cope with his disability. He is paraplegic. He's never going to be able to walk again. And he cannot stand that. And you really get to see through the course of a couple of episodes how he deals with that. It makes him angry and everything. Even to the point to where he was just going to say screw everything and take his own life. But this woman who lives above his apartment, the water was dripping into his apartment and he went to go help her. So he decided not to take his own life. He is very, very rich. His uncle is very rich and stuff. and they make their money on the hover drones. And so the hover drones on one episode were literally equipped with guns and taking people out by using facial recognition to take out former like prisoners and stuff. His uncle denied it, but of course he was behind it. And so the man who worked with his uncle betrayed him by killing his uncle. Logan has been married once, engaged once, and one time his ex came in pretending to love him again only to get some money for her and her boyfriend. And it broke his heart. Now, one episode we get to see him be a hero because him and Max went out to the countryside because he was investigating a cop who murdered like 18 people. Basically, when the post hit, everybody was struggling, and it's one of those kill or be killed type of situation. And so he had to like fight off the local rednecks and stuff. Max was incapacitated because of her seizures, and it was just him and a little boy, and he literally armed the entire house with booby traps and had like a rifle and everything. He shot his way to save himself, Max, and the little boy. Eventually, he needs a blood transfusion when the shrapnel starts to migrate through his spine. Max gives him some of her genetically engineered blood, and for a while, it starts to fix his legs. But then it reverses because his immune system kicked in. This would cause him to get like depressed to where he was going to take his own life. And so like, when he turned in his uncle's company, it has now made him broke. He is madly in love with Max, but it's a very slow build to that of their relationship. Now, a guy named Phil, who's a vigilante who likes to record everything, he has a military exosuit where it attaches to his legs, giving him superpower strength in the legs. Him and Max, and along with Logan and everything, helped to uncover the hover drone scandal with the whole, like, them taking out prisoners and stuff like that. Afterwards, he gives, like, you know, the exosuit to Logan, and he ends up getting it to work, causing him to walk again at the finale in the rest of season 2. Now, Phil is played by Rainn Wilson. Bling is played by Peter James Bryant, and he is the like therapist to that of Logan when he loses his ability to walk. Basically, he knows about eyes only, and he's only there to assist Logan and give him advice, and he's really good friends with Max. He really doesn't have much to do in this series. Detective Max Sung is a friend of Logan, a detective, and the only good cop in the entire series. He only shows up in about 4 or 6 episodes, and so like he doesn't really do much other than just assist like Logan and assist that of Max. But he has no idea who Logan really is and stuff. And he is played by that of Byron Mann, but he changed his last name. It used to be Chan, but then he changed it to Mann. Kendra is played by that of Jennifer Blank, and she only appears in a couple of episodes in the first season. She is Max's roommate, and out of all of Max's friends, she's the only one who dresses very colorful. She's very sultry, very down to earth, very kind. She loves to date, and she teaches kids, I think, like Mandarin or something like that, and she struggles just like with Max when coming up with money. Not really all that much is known about her, and she doesn't really have no like big story arc, and she was written out halfway into the season, and she ended up dating one of those corrupt police guys who used to shake them down for money. It really sucks because I remember this actress in the movie she starred in with that of Shannon Doherty. Dan Vogelsang is the PI, and he's played by Stephen Lee. And may he rest in peace. He died a few years back. And so he is the PI, not IP, the PI that helps Max look for the escapees. He's kind of like a sleazebag type person, but he does have a good heart. He does help Max out. But when Lydecker finds out, he tortures this dude and rips off all his fingernails. And of course, now he's like a double agent type person. So he has like a receiver in his ear and he has no idea, but he realizes his place is bugged and he tells Max. He even changes his clothes because he thinks there's a bug on him, but he has no idea it's in his ear. And so even though Lydecker is using him, he is still trying to help out Max and everything, and literally keeps trying to tell her, hey, look, man, these people are dangerous. You need to get out the city and everything like that. So even though he is a sleazebag, he does try to help her out. But he ends up dead. Why? Because Zach found all this out and killed him. Now it's time to get to that of the people at Jam Pony, the trio. The trio is a really fun group of characters who are all friends with Max. And like they really help bring this show, have some humanity to the show. Because the show is so dark and grim. Every time they're around, you just have like a blast when they're there. They are supporting characters to that of Max. And they're just always talking about like life and everything. Now their boss is Normal. I don't know if that's his middle name or a nickname, but his real name is Reagan Ronald. And he's a huge fan of Ronald Reagan. Get it? He is played by J.C. McKenzie. And he's in both seasons and he is the boss. He's your typical mean boss, but really he's just there to do his job and his employees are slackers and everything. And his catchphrase is bip, 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 trying to make them hurry up and do their job. And he's very rude to his employees, especially Max. And he's always wondering where she's at because she's always late and everything. Now, for the most part, he even tries to turn Max in when she's wanted for the murder of Vogelsang and everything. And he doesn't care. And the other people are like, oh, that's not her on that sketch. But he literally wants that $50,000 reward. Now, what's interesting is that everybody struggles, but his place is actually pretty nice. It's colorful. He has like a bachelor pad type thing. He has kind of like silk robe and everything. So he clearly has some money. But like he is that character who dated that transgender woman, and he literally told her he just didn't care, you know what I'm saying? Like, which shows that maybe he's on the LGBT like community, but doesn't really reveal it. We don't really see him date nobody else after that, and he can even afford to go to like a fancy restaurant and stuff where other characters can't. Now, spoiler alert for season 2, when transgenic people are exposed to the entire world, he becomes that of a bigot. And he hates them all and even pulls a gun on one. But then I think in the finale, he ended up helping, I think, a X6 deliver her baby because she was pregnant. Original Cindy, played by Vanessa Ray Miller. Now, she started off as a comedian before she ever started this show, and she's appeared in other stuff. And so she calls herself Original Cindy. The thing about a lot of these characters in the show, they go by nicknames, especially that who work at Jam Pony. Her real name is Cynthia, but you will never know that because they never call her that or by her last name. But she is the most ghettoest black character I have ever seen. She is super ghetto. She's also a lesbian and proud of it. She's rude, she's sexy, but she has a vibe to her and everything. She has a lot of flavor to it. She always speaks in slang, and I never know what the heck she is saying. But she's always dropping it on people, and she helps Max out a lot. That is her best friend. She would do anything for Max. She even helped Max out before she found out Max was the transgenic soldier, and then afterwards helped her out again. Out of all of Max's friends, she's the only one who actually gets involved in a couple of episodes, giving her something prominently to do in the series other than just being the black, like, sidekick best friend role, you know? her and Max end up living together when Kendra leaves. And of course, we got to see that episode where her ex-girlfriend came and stuff. The two biggest Cindy episodes is when the Reds kidnap her because like she quit her job at Jam Pony to sell insurance, and she had to unghetto herself with something it was hard for her to do. And so like the Reds kidnap her and Max saves her, exposing who she is. And then the biggest episode is when, of course, her ex-girlfriend Diamond comes in. See, Diamond had just got out of prison, and they've been on again, off again for the longest time when they used to date. But Diamond is a thief. Herbal knows who Diamond is, so this goes like way back, her and Herbal and stuff, of being friends. And so Diamond's in the habit of stealing once again, and steals from Max when Max steals from this billionaire corrupt type guy. But then it turns out this CDC type organization had infected Diamond with the virus, but told her, oh, it's like some type of like vaccine, but it wasn't. And they exposed her to run experiments on her to see, you know, trying to like have some type of like bio weapon and this and that. She knows she's dying and she's not contagious as long as she gets her treatments. But she broke out of prison for 2 whole weeks, and she just wanted to spend her remainder days with that of like original Cindy. And she goes out in one of the most coolest ways ever, to where when she finds out the guy responsible for giving her this virus, she gives him a kiss on the lips as her face is kind of like melting off. It has all this like pussy type stuff on it and stuff like that, infecting him. Sketchy, played by Richard Gunn. His real name is Calvin, but I had no idea. And so he's called Sketchy because, well, he's a little sketchy. He's like a jinky little white dude and everything. And it's like, you know, he's kind of like that rocker type person. He's kind of that slacker type person. He's just a dopey guy. And I already told you in the pilot episode, Max had to save his relationship because he cheated on his girlfriend with an older woman. Max will help this dude out, even though she picks on him and berates him. And Cindy will do the same thing as well. She's always like talking smack to him, and like but she will help him out if he needs help and stuff. And like the time that he used to work for this mob and like deliver packages for them, and he lost their money. So Max and Cindy had to like go to like this casino place underground, win the money back, but that pissed off the owner, so they had to fight the goons off and everything. For the most part, he is a really nice guy. But in season 2, he becomes a journalist, and he doesn't like all this trans, like, genic soldier type stuff. So he becomes like normal, a bigot, but then later on changes his tune. I forget why exactly. And last but not least, there is Herbal Thought. And I'm not sure what his real name is, but they call him Herbal because he smokes the green stuff a lot. And he's played by, I can't say his name, Elimni Ballard. And so his character is barely in the show. He's only in the first season, and they do this man wrong. When he feels like a background character. He talks a lot every once in a while, and he's kind of like a modern day guru type person. Always has something philosophical to say. He believes everything is all good all the time, even when it's bad. And when bad stuff happens, no matter what, it's all good because the Almighty has like a plan. And his friends are telling him he's crazy for thinking that. And he starts to change his tune when Max is in trouble. But then she gets saved and he's like, see, I told you, it's all good. He is Jamaican with a big Jamaican accent, but the actor is not. And I never know what the world he is saying because that fake accent is so thick. Now, he played Quizmaster on the second season of Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and he had more to do in Sabrina as a recurring character than he did in this show, where he's supposed to be a main character. And so there's literally one episode that kind of, he's like the B plot of like the story, where his girlfriend has her ex-boyfriend live with them named Winston. And we get told this story all throughout the episode, but we never get to see these people. We never get to see the girlfriend or Winston, but yet he constantly keeps talking about them and all the drama they're going through. They're literally doing the tell, don't show, what he's supposed to show, don't tell. And I'm like, they couldn't even cast some people to play these people and give him something to like to piggyback off of. He is literally a background character in his own show. And the more and more he is shown, the less he says anything. There's even a character, a friend of his, that got let out of jail and the Hubadrone took him out. After that, he's not even in the rest of the episode. It didn't even revolve around him. By the end of the finale, he is written off the show and is never mentioned again in season 2. It's like his character never existed. And it was a waste of like an actor, in my opinion, and an actor of color. So Dark Angel was a very unique and interesting show. There's been like another movie / television show that was similar called Hannah. I reviewed all 3 seasons of Hannah. Basically what it is a bunch of like girls that are super soldiers that are really strong, really smart, and they're like assassins and stuff. It's Dark Angel, but without all the cyberpunk and sci-fi of it. And you know, other shows have tried to like duplicate this and everything, but there's never been a show like Dark Angel before. And it's sad that they want you to forget this show. It's not on streaming. You can't get on DVD no more. They used to have novel books. They had a video game based on this. They had toys, and now it's all gone. And the only place you can watch it is Daily Motion. Some videos are good, some are not, some are flipped and everything. And I just don't understand, because this was a show everybody was talking about back in the day, and now nobody talks about it now. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.